Welcome back, and we start with traffic management in Lagos. Of course, with rising spate of accidents, there is a need to ensure more diligently safety of road users. So, of course, that may have informed the regulation by the Lagos state government on speed limits in different parts of the state. So let's examine the implication of this particular regulation. And joining us today is the General Manager, Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, Mr. Olalekan Bakari Oki. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
I'm glad to be here.
And we hope that there was it wasn't a challenge getting here with the traffic situation.
No, it wasn't. It was a smooth ride.
All right. So let's start with, enabling laws backing this speed limit that the Lagos State government has introduced. I want you to provide the legal framework for it for us.
Yes. The ITS, Intelligent Traffic System, that was recently introduced by Ministry of Transportation is fully backed by Lagos State Traffic Law, the Lagos State Transport Sector Reform Law of 2018. Section 2828, to be precise, empower the ministry to install all traffic equipment and furnitures on all Lagos roads.
Right. And it's important, that aspect of the conversation is important. And there are many other laws, that should be informing regulation of traffic or the management of traffic on a larger scale. And if we were to go into all of that and talk about how these laws are being breached, then we may be having a more expanded conversation. But let's look at the concern of Lagosians as far as this regulation is concerned. And some of the criticisms that are most resounding is that perhaps there is more target for revenue generation than the concern of safety itself. So some road users feel targeted. How does the state government respond to this?
Yes, the main motive behind the deployment of this technology is basically to enhance optimal safety on all Lagos roads, to reduce road traffic accidents. Take Mainland Bridge, for instance, when it was rehabilitated. We recorded a substantial number of accidents on that route, both inward and outward of Mainland Bridge. The ministry now did the studies on how to mitigate this challenge, and that was what necessitated the camera that was installed around Alapere. The main motive behind it is to reduce the carnage, the traffic incidents, especially road traffic crashes on that route, and optimally, voluntary compliance from the road users, the motoring public in Lagos.
So without necessarily justifying excessive speed, driving with excessive speed on Mainland Bridge, just to bring through some of the concerns of road users on that bridge, the length of the bridge on the first hand, and the concern for safety should anything happen. And that's why some are saying that, regulating, demanding a regulation at speed limit 80 may not necessarily be realistic. I'd like you to respond to that before we look at, all of the implications.
Before the deployment of the camera on Mainland Bridge, LASTMA, as an agency that is saddled with responsibility of fostering order, seamless mobility in Lagos, we have a zonal office around that route, domiciled at Yanoworo, beside the lay-by. And I can tell you for free, in last year, 2024, from January to December, the total number of accidents that were recorded in Lagos was 2,050, involving 3,784 vehicles. We have about 7 to 9% on that route. So whenever we recorded any incident, we are always prompt, we always swift into action to resolve whatever issues we have there. And most especially, we are always the first responders as a result of our strength, as a result of our staff strength. We are well spread across the states. Whenever it involves other responders, we call on them promptly so that we can salvage the situation, especially to save lives.
But as you're taking track of the number of accidents and the number of lives lost, are you also tracking crimes committed on that bridge, particularly because of its length and you know, the delay or sometimes non-availability of you know, security agents to help when the Gaussians get into, you know, very dire situations?
Statutorily or constitutionally, it is the job of the Nigerian police. But what we do when we notice all these traffic thieves, we give information to Lagos State IRS and Lagos State Police Command, and they've been responding fantastically well.
Nigerians would argue with you on that one, but let's make progress.
On that route, you will see RRS stationed on that bridge, about 3 or 4 locations at that stretch of the bridge.
A class of people that feel targeted by this regulation would be the Danfo buses. You said earlier that, you know, it's more about safety than revenue generation, but the Danfo buses feel targeted, and with the harsh economic situation, the regulation, failure to meet the regulation, a breach of the regulation would attract a fine of 20,000 naira or 50,000 naira in extreme cases. How does the government respond to this particular concern that, you know, the Danfo buses are struggling, you know, to make ends meet in the first place, these transport drivers?
You must agree with me. The attitudinal behavioral pattern of these Danfo drivers on Lagos route over months is becoming unbecoming, and there must be a measure to curtail all their excesses. Part of the measures, apart from the deploying of technology, the Ministry of Transportation is equally piloting a program called the BRI, Bus Reform Initiative. It has started around Lekki Ajazis, where companies will be given franchise to operate as a group. Their buses will be numbered, and they will be given a maximum standard. The vehicle must be roadworthy. Color will be given to them, so whenever they commit any traffic infractions, they will be easily identified. Basically, we are doing everything, crossing all the T's and dotting the I's to make sure that traffic management in Lagos State is efficient, effective, and smooth.
But is the state government considering other approaches to you know, punitive measures for those who may breach this law or regulation without necessarily an extreme fine of 50,000 naira, particularly because of the economic situation? If you are listening in on the conversation, there are you know, calls for maybe a confiscation of the vehicle for a particular period of time, community service, which, you know, is more popular and even more humbling than a fine.
Madam, basically, we shouldn't be talking about the fine. As I mentioned earlier, the main motive behind the deployment of the technology is voluntary compliance, safety on all Lagos roads. Life has no duplicate. People should obey laws primarily. That's what the MOT is talking about. And a lot of sensitization has been done before the deployment of these cameras.
If we look at the, I don't know the details. I wish we had, you know, access to the report that you quoted earlier, citing, you know, 2,000 deaths and more than 3,000
not 2,000 deaths. Traffic road accidents.
Road accidents.
On Lagos roads. From January to December 2024, 2,050.
And 3,000, involving over 3,000 vehicles.
Over 3,000 vehicles.
So exactly. I wish we had access to that report so that we can, you know, look at the nature of the vehicles, because there have been concerns. And indeed, the report by the road safety this year spoke to, you know, a secondary level of tragic accidents involving more of articulated vehicles. And for some Nigerians, that is really at the heart of the matter. Those who breach traffic rules on a larger scale are the articulated vehicles. Now, do, maybe not just LASTMA alone, do safety agencies, agencies maintaining law and order, have the capacity to rein in on the excesses of articulated vehicles?
Yes, we do, and we employ different means in making sure that they comply with the rules and regulations. If you look at Lagos, transportation of wet and dry cargoes is more rampant on Lagos roads because of the strategic location of the states. Movement of all these cargoes, as I said, wet and dry cargoes, petroleum product in terms of wet, it has to be taken to other states. Lagos State feeds so many other states with these products. That's why you see more activities of trucks and trailers on Lagos roads. As you said, also in 2024, from January to December, the number of vehicles that broke down on Lagos roads is 5,108. Why all these trucks you made mention took about 45% of the whole data. So I quite agree with you. We are putting measures in place. We engage them one-on-one. We equally go to their complaints for them to prioritize safety, to tell them why they should not overspeed, why they should not drink, why they are on steering. And in case they experience any fatigue, they should feel free to leave the steering and relax before they can continue their journey. And most importantly, vehicle maintenance. They should always carry out their vehicle maintenance before they put any vehicle on the road. The proper check must be done. That has been our advocacy to them always.
Well, are you sure? Because you said earlier that indeed you have the capacity. Are you sure that you indeed have the capacity to, rein in on the excesses of these articulated vehicles, not just the wet ones, the dry ones as well, particularly those carrying containers?
Yes, we do. We have a synergy. We have a collaboration with other agencies in the
But evidence
states.
is to the contrary. We drive past these vehicles every day on the roads, and they are not complying. 90% of the time, they do not comply with the road safety measures, and that's why you find them tumbling over more often than not. And you have, endless videos abounding online of wobbly articulated vehicles carrying the magnitude of the weight that they're carrying. I'd like you to speak to that.
Those ones you are talking about, madam, will be 1 in 20 or 1 in 30. For you to have seen one, that means we have curtailed more than 10 or 15. For instance, the last issue that happened around $30 concerning a tanker that got burnt. For that to have happened, so many has been averted. And even at that, a lot of measures were immediately put in place to save life, to curtail the spread.
This is more than one. If I, as one driver, can, number 4 to 5 on a particular trip, lasting 20 minutes, how much more, the numbers that Nigerians can quote for you?
When you get to our yards now, any of our yards, you see so many of these trucks. Also, the VIS in Lagos, they are always up and equal to the task. They are always on the move to curtail their excesses. Before we release any of them, we'll make sure that they go through the roadworthiness test before they are released. Even when they break down and we evacuate, before they are being released back to the road, they must go through the due diligence. The integrity test will be carried out before their vehicle will be released back to them.
Now, I'd like to visit your yard and indeed see
Feel free anytime.
Quite a number that you have arrested. But I'd like to also find out in that regard, because they're responsible for the deaths of many Nigerians. Is the agency or any other agency empowered to prosecute these companies or their staff when accidents like this happen?
Constitutionally, it's the Nigerian police that can prosecute.
So do you hand over?
Sure, we have a robust working relationship. In LASTMA, we have a police unit that is led by a CSP. So whenever we apprehend or we arrest any of these drivers, we will hand over such to them, and they will do the needful according to the law.
So do you follow up with the police to find out how many prosecutions have been recorded in that regard?
Sure, we do.
What can you report?
I think there was a particular one around December last year. It happened around the Mainland Bridge. So he was drunk. Eventually, we were able to apprehend him. We were able to apprehend him, and he was handed over to the police. And they did the right thing.
Well, 1 out of thousands is definitely inadequate. But we'll be following up on that. Before we wrap up on this conversation, I'd like you to speak to the speed limit cameras. Some say that they are in as much as 11 locations in Lagos already, but there are some other reports that are also saying that they are only in one location. I believe that would be operational only on Alakwere Road and Mobolaji Bank Anthony Way. What exactly is the situation? In how many areas are the speed limit cameras installed already?
The intelligent traffic system in Lagos has been on since last year. In LASTMA, we started with TMS, Traffic Monitoring Solution. This is like a gadget. You must have been seeing it around with our men. It is handy. Whenever any vehicle commits traffic infractions in the states, it's for them to capture a substantial evidence. And after the capturing, whatever they must have gathered will be sent back to the back end. There is a special desk that will evaluate the evidence, whether it is valid enough for the authority to issue fine. Then they will quickly send a message to the driver. And the driver has a choice too. Is either to pay or to contest the payment. Apart from that, there is ANPR, automatic number plate recognition. All these cameras are everywhere. Also, there is a police that was recently deployed to by Ministry of Transportation. We have it in Olowo Popo. It is equally around Allen. So all this camera, all this technology has been in place. We're even going further before the end of the year to have a camera vehicle that will just drive past any vehicle that commits traffic infractions, and the number plate will be captured.
So how, will the offenders, be notified, and how will they be prosecuted and the fines collected?
Once our men or the camera capture the substantial evidence, as I said, there is a desk that will evaluate and substantiate the validity, the level of the evidence. If it is weighty enough, substantial enough, a message will be sent to the driver with the evidence. And as I said, such driver has a choice, either to make the payment or to contest. And I doubt it if they will be able to contest it, because pictures and video speaks volumes.
Okay, so in the future, we'll see less and less of LASTMA officials running after vehicles, trying to arrest them for breaching traffic offenses. And that's cheery to note. But
that's part of the motive. We want to reduce human interaction.
Yeah, but in the case where a particular motorist wants to challenge, the fine or the offense that has been, leveled against them, how long do you envisage that it would happen? And wouldn't it be, leading to congestion at, state government offices, and another round of repetitions of where we see government officials in Alausa, trying to, prosecute traffic offenders that we have seen in the past?
The challenging system is seamless. You can reach us. We have a toll-free line in LASTMA that was commissioned last year. And since then, we've received over 3,000 calls that have been promptly attended to. It's a toll-free line. It's 080-000-527862. And they can communicate to us or reach us through English, Yoruba, and Pidgin. Also, there is a physical complaint center where they can equally walk in and complain. And there is no time limit for them to contest any of these fines or issues. Apart from contesting whatever fines that has been given to them, they can equally give us informations on the conduct of our men on the road, wherever there is gridlock, congestion, or any emergency on the road.
Okay.
And at times they give us commendations too.
Okay, and you know, it's a revolution that is indeed cheery to see play out on Lagos roads in terms of traffic management. And just before we go, we wonder if this can also be deployed to, again, my concern is about articulated vehicle, this type of technology. They may not necessarily be guilty of breaching speed limits, but of course, you and I know the other areas of infractions of articulated vehicles. So this particular technology, can it also be deployed in similar fashion for these companies and their staff who cause tragedy and mayhem on our roads from time to time?
Apart from what you mentioned, part of what the ministry is doing is taking the campaign to their doorstep, their complaints, and before they leave the ports or wherever they are taking the cargoes from, you will see a VIS and LASTMA and members of Ministry of Transportation talking to them why they should always oppose safety. It's part of our public education and traffic enlightenment. We do an aggressive and a massive traffic advocacy in that direction because we know life is paramount and it has no duplicate. And the life of every Lagosian is very, very important to Mr. Governor.
Indeed, and that would be a fine place to anchor it this morning and also remind Nigerians that the speed limit is now 80 on trunk A roads, but in other roads it may just be a little less, and so you must be conscious as you drive such that you do not run foul of the traffic offense in the state. We've been talking with Mr. Olalekan Bakari Oki. He's a General Manager, Lagos State Traffic Management Agency, LASTMA. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me.
You have our best wishes as you continue with the all-important work of traffic management on Lagos roads.
Thank you, ma'am.
And from here, we move on to another very important conversation. Join us again. We'll be right back.